station. Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. US Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. US Central. Hello and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk Radio, coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. I am Mazi Okachukwu, and with me in the studio is
Mazi Ejike Abase.
And our other co-host is on his way. Today we're going to discuss everything global, so we're going to talk about what's in the global news, and we will start with what's going on around the world. One of the most, I guess, the what's in the news mostly these days is about people in North Korea, especially Kim Jong-un and his dance date scheduled with the Donald Trump of the USA, our president. And it seems he was on, but then it was off,
And now
then
it's
it
on
was
again.
on again. Right? So this dance is it's becoming interesting because they are dancing even before they get to the date.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, there is no doubt that, they say, Georgia is better than war.
That's right.
So any opportunity to talk and find peaceful solutions to global problems is always the preferable way to go.
Right, but there are, so I guess I want to step back a little bit to what actually caused the no, we're not going to do this anymore. It
Okay.
seemed like two things happened. One was John Bolton, the new advisor,
Sure.
the national security
NSA,
advisor
yes,
to
yes.
the president, got on a show and talked about what kind of model they were going to use to talk to North Korea, and decided that it was the
Libyan.
2003 Libyan model.
The Libyan model, yes.
And so a lot of people don't know what the Libyan model is, and he went ahead and tried to explain it. And what he explained was different than what was understood. He explained the Libyan model to be the deal given to Libya to denuclearize, and Libya took it and was able to do that. But what he didn't touch what actually touched the North Koreans, because Gaddafi gave up his weapons, and then what happened to him?
And he was promptly removed
So-
and killed. Okay.
So the North Koreans didn't like that, but then also Vice President Mike Pence said something else to, I don't remember exactly what he said, to
Okay.
get on their bad side, and then they retaliated because they called him names and said he was a political hack and didn't know what he was talking about, and that got our president, Donald Trump, not too happy. And actually, North Korea said that they may even cancel the trip because U.S. is acting, the U.S. thought is a little bit hostile.
Yeah.
Then our president decided, you know what, this is not productive. I am going to go ahead and cancel this. So he went ahead and canceled it and wrote a nice letter in his way of, before he canceled it.
Okay.
So I guess a lot of analysts, I'm not one of them. I actually don't understand it enough to be an analyst. A lot of analysts are saying that it seemed like our president canceled because he figured that the North Koreans may cancel, so he wants to cancel first. Because
To
he
be
knew-
one up on them.
Yes, so that he doesn't want them to cancel on him.
Well, all I have to say about that is that there was a time that diplomats were groomed to be diplomats, and you are very careful in your manner of speech,
Yes.
and not just the content of your speech, but also the
boisterous.
inflection.
Yes.
Because it is an art. It is, and in many ways, it separated countries that had some degree of sophistication versus countries that did not.
That's why we have a whole discipline and a whole Department of Arts that is based on diplomacy that's studied in colleges.
Absolutely. Because if you look at even high school kids that are part of a debate society, debating society,
Yes.
are taught
And they
how to make
present your argument.
absolutely in a way that makes your point without being overtly offensive.
Yes, yes.
And I would very quickly give North Korea a pass, primarily because everybody understands that it is not really. We talk about diplomacy.
You did not expect that out of
No,
them.
I do not expect that.
The
from them.
expectation was way low.
Yes, but certainly, our country.
Given that we have a whole Department of State and a bunch of professional
Yes,
staff
yes.
that are trained to do this.
Yes, and it is in many ways, I would like to, it's not just an American thing. I think it is, let's say, the dumbing down of the whole world.
Yes.
Because it seems to me that finesse has been crucified
Yes.
on the altar
Everybody
of,
wants
of
to be the
nouveau world.
yes.
Because there's a lot of crassness in diplomacy.
There's a lot of people wanting to be strong men or
Well,
women.
Well, I think it's a negative,
Yes.
personally. Yeah.
I do. So I'm glad that at least the talks are back because there wasn't. I mean, a lot of people celebrated that the talks were rough.
Okay.
A lot of people mourned that the talks were rough because at least there was some glimmer of hope of bringing North Korea into the fold of the better half of the world, if you
Yes,
will,
yes.
rather than having enemies. We
Yeah.
were thinking that maybe the two Koreas will settle. We talked about this on the program.
Yes.
That they will settle and at least be able to have an amicable relationship amongst them, and then be able to present a better Korea to the world, a much more calmer peninsula, that so that people in Hawaii wouldn't have to worry about bombs flying or Japan or
Yeah, exactly.
people
Well,
around the area.
So I would like to point out that in terms of what we're talking about, I think that the South Koreans have shown a lot more maturity
Yes.
in this whole saga than both us and the North Koreans.
But there seems to have been a change with Mike Pompeo becoming the Secretary of State.
Okay.
Because he was able to make a trip out there, and at least it seems like the effort is yielded fruit because we got this big envelope from the South Korean, from the North Koreans,
yes.
and you see, I mean, whatever was in the envelope must have been nice enough that
To entice us back to the table.
yes, the talks are reinstated, and the venue are picked, and it seemed like it may be happening on the date that was previously announced. So we'll keep our ears to the ground and see what happens.
Okay.
But at least what I'm hoping for is a deal that makes it easier for North Korea to at least be a lot calmer, and for the U.S. to be a lot friendlier. Well, I guess to have a relationship that is not combative between the Koreas and between the U.S. and North Korea.
So let me tell you what I think.
Yes.
I think that when our president says that he is willing to extend security guarantees to the North Koreans, I think that's a positive.
Yes.
Hmm? Good. I feel that regardless of how abhorrent the North Korean regime has been, taking them on full force is the wrong way to go about this.
Yes.
I think you broker peace, and there's now talk about officially ending the Korean War.
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of an armistice.
Yes, so to convert it into a full-blown peace treaty,
Yes.
and you gradually open up the North Koreans to the difference in lifestyle and livelihood
They
between
will see
themselves.
all kinds of different cars than what they usually see.
Absolutely. So
but yeah, there are
that is actually a much bigger threat
yes.
to the North Korean regime.
But that's what that's where I was going to go. The world may want to get the rest of the North Korean citizenship to
Yes.
at least join us in the 21st century. But I'm wondering if the government of North Korea is ready to have its citizens have cell phones with, smart cell phones that could actually get on Facebook, actually have wireless or have broadband and access to the internet, they may not be ready for that, but at least they will be allowed to travel outside their country and experience something different.
You know, I've always believed that when human beings are given a choice,
Yes.
they choose freedom. Okay? If you had asked anybody in 1980
Yes.
how long the apartheid regime in South Africa would have lasted,
It would have seemed like forever.
but look how quickly things crumbled. And remember, they had a very strong grip on the country, the military and everything.
Yes.
But it took somebody to read the handwriting on the wall to realize this is not sustainable.
Yes.
If North Koreans begin to glimpse what it is that their government is holding away from them,
That's why I'm thinking that the government may not want to.
yes, they may want,
Unless-
they probably will not want to, but I feel that
There'll be-
once
there'll be
this
North
starts,
Korean
it
spring.
is inevitable.
Yes.
It is
that's-
inevitable.
The government is probably considering all those things right now.
Yes.
And if I was advising them, I would say the best way to do it is for the government to itself start introducing those things to the people, rather than have the people discover it and actually want to force the government to bring it in.
Maybe that's what he has in mind.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You never know. That's
Yes.
right. Because we heard of some changes in the military, North Korean military, changing
Yes,
the old
yes,
guards with
yes,
some new
yes,
ones.
yes.
And they've kind of, well, nobody really believes them, but they've made some gestures by blowing up some things and telling us that they've gotten rid of some of the nuclear facilities.
Well, yeah, but
showing some explosions.
I think part of that is propaganda, because it was known that their nuclear test sites had been so damaged
Yes.
by the nuclear testing that any further nuclear testing at those
May-
sites would have
May
been
cause volcanic
disastrous.
eruptions
And
kill people.
I also feel that the Chinese, who share the border, the biggest border with the North Koreans, have been quietly exerting a lot of pressure on the North Koreans to change it. So he's navigating treacherous waters
Yes, yes.
the best he can. But I think it is not helpful for us on this side to begin to bluster.
It's similar to what we say with the police. When you meet the police or when the police comes to you, you're thinking that the police, who's the authority in this
Yes.
regard, who know better to de-escalate the situation
Yes.
instead of escalate it.
Yeah.
But that's not what we've seen
That's not
in
well,
recent
but,
cases.
but
in some,
having
in
said
some
that,
cases, in the
it is still
the famous
in your
cases.
best interest to de-escalate yourself.
yes. So we are glad that at least the North Koreans are trying, but we expect better from the
From our
authority
government.
in this
Absolutely.
situation, which is our government, to further de-escalate.
On a prior program, I think I had also made the point that our president,
Yes.
Donald Trump,
Yes.
has, in many ways, the kudos to him
Yes.
for bringing us where we are. But I think one has to realize the point at which you gracefully step aside and
And
let
let the
professionals go in and finish the job.
I am hopeful that this going to Singapore with him and Kim is it's a
Photo op
presentation and photo op for the rest of the ambassadors and
to sit down and do the
diplomatic
heavy
people
lifting.
to sit down and
Yes.
do the work. Or maybe there are some pre-work going on because
Of course.
Mike Pompeo was there and then the North Korean guy was here. So hopefully there are some things worked out already and they'll go do some handshakes and the professionals will take care of the rest.
That's
With
right.
whatever the groundwork that they lay.
Absolutely.
Talking about our president and some of the groundwork that he lays. So I know on this program we talked about kneeling and the NFL,
Yes.
but then he had invited the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yes.
as every president does, to come visit the White House for winning the Super Bowl. And some of the members of the Eagles have decided that they were not going, just like some other people have opted out too.
Yes.
know that during the Obama era, when New England won, Tom Brady and
Would
some
not
people
go.
did not go,
Mhm.
except this time, President wouldn't have it. He disinvited them. He called backsies. Can you do that with an invitation? You give an invitation and you take it right back. But instead of canceling the event, he decides he's going to celebrate America, and the Eagles are not invited because, according to his tweet, that kneeling is disrespectful to the flag.
Yeah.
Now I know we talked about the kneeling and the flag and
Yeah.
what all that means, which is, to me, it's a conflation of what the people are really saying. Kneeling has nothing to do with the flag. It has never been anything to do with the flag. But that's a different matter altogether. So what do you think about disinviting the people that are already invited, sports athletes,
Well, I
going to
think
the White House?
the losers
Yes.
are the members of the Philadelphia Eagles that would have liked to go.
Right.
Some of them had made up their minds that they
The
were
Trump
not going to go.
supporters that were,
The
well,
Trump
or,
sup-
or
yeah,
even
or-
if they were not, but they just wanted
Yeah,
to go.
yeah. I wouldn't call all of them Trump supporters,
Yes,
but
yes.
some of them were neutral on this issue and
Just
would have
wanted
liked
to go to the
yes,
White House
well,
and enjoy the people.
because it is a tradition.
Yes,
But
yes.
again,
Take a picture with the president and staff.
you have to ask yourself, what do these traditions really mean? It seems to me that every day we pick up something that has been a tradition in this country.
It's,
and we
everybody
toss
loves
it
a
out the
winner,
window.
right?
Mhm.
Nobody asks the second place people to come visit the White House.
Yeah.
So it's the winners that are going to the White House. So I have no problem with him disinviting the people. What I have a problem with are the people that try to give. It's free. It's a free country.
Mhm.
As much as I have free speech, so also does the president.
Yes.
And as long as I could extend an invitation and take it back, so also can he.
Okay.
For any reason he deems fit. And we could all talk about it because we have free speech too.
Yes.
But what I don't get are people who are saying that, people who are coming down on one side or the other, usually on the side of the president, and saying that the Eagles should have known better and should not have started saying that they're going to not go when invited. Because if they decide they're not going to go, that's fine. That's their prerogative too.
Yes.
So usually people say, why don't they just play ball and stay out of politics?
Yes.
And you were asking the question, why are we doing this tradition? If the question is that these people should just stay out of politics and play ball, then maybe the politicians should stay out of sports.
Well, that's the point.
Right.
So
if we're going to all go to a corners
yes,
for what we do, then the politicians are not allowed to discuss anything other than politics.
After all, it is also a photo op for the politicians.
They like to be among winners,
Yes.
so they're the ones making the invite.
Yes.
And if they want the athletes to stay out of politics because they want to leave it to the professionals, they should stay out of sports and leave it to the professionals too.
It's just at the end of the day, you have to feel kind of sad that everything in America appears now to be politically
Tribalistic.
driven.
Yep.
Nothing can stand on its own. So you protest, you're a criminal. You don't protest, you're a coward.
Well, I've seen recent pictures from the celebration of America on the White House lawn.
Okay.
And it happens that two of the invitees decided they were going to kneel for the national anthem.
Oh, really?
Yes. One of the guys in the back and another one on the corner kneeled. I think one of them started yelling at the president and was promptly escorted out. But I mean, well, I'm laughing only because you threw a party to protest. Instead of the people and that are kneeling, and somebody comes and kneel. To me, that I mean, they have freedom of speech; they are allowed to do whatever. But that one I don't support because you cannot know that he didn't want that. I mean, this is somebody looking for.
Well, but on the other hand,
Yes.
This is America.
Yes.
You cannot muzzle
have the right.
speech in America.
They have the right to. Do
They
that.
have a right to kneel
Yes.
if they want to kneel.
Yes.
Is it illegal?
No, and I've thought about this often, right? When we talk about kneeling,
Yeah.
That's actually the best position to be in when the national anthem is playing.
Well,
Is playing
yeah.
because you're in a position to pray. You're praying for the country. I'll take it. It's better than turning your back. Actually, standing and turning your back
Yeah.
against where the flag is.
Yeah.
That's a worse protest to me because you're turning your back on a symbol.
Of nationalism.
But also, if we have to go back to what the protest is really about, because I would like to remind people who are listening every time why we are conflating things that have nothing to do with each other. When Kaepernick started kneeling and joined by his friend, he
Yeah.
was kneeling because he was protesting the poor treatment in the hands of law enforcement of minorities. It had nothing to do with the flag, and the president was the person that made it about the flag. It had nothing to do with the national anthem. The president was the one that made it about the national anthem. It had nothing to do with military families. The president was the one that made it about military families. And if we have to discuss military families, the national anthem, and NFL, it's a Johnny just come. It's a brand new. It's a new thing compared to when the NFL started playing the national anthem and having the military join
Yes.
when the national anthem is played. It wasn't the tradition. So if we have to talk about sports athletes not getting into politics, we should get the military and national anthem out of sports.
Mazio Deluga, welcome to the program.
They will know. So you joined at a point of discussing the president and the Philadelphia Eagle invite
Yes.
and disinvite and the celebration of America and kneeling in football. Any thoughts?
No, it's just one of those conversations that really you hope and pray that the presidency will rise up to its
To the
calling,
creed of the American.
its calling
Yes.
as the father of the nation. It's just that many of us have children.
Yes.
Imagine if your kid, you have called the entire family to the table, and one child decides not to come to the table or stands at the corner pouting.
Yes.
You can either tell the child, force the child to come to the table,
Yes.
or you begin to ask the question, why are you behaving the way you're behaving?
Yes.
Because in that you might hear a story that will require your intervention as a parent.
Yes.
And so what we have in this situation is when one of the members of the American family is feeling that there are some issues that have begun to affect him or this community and wants to raise the attention, bring attention to that issue. Now, it could have well been where a parent will now go out to begin to rally the families and to solve the problem. So what I expected of the president to do is to be a father and call the athletes and recruit their efforts to see how he can help use them to bring together the country. Since they are people of influence, because what you saw is that when Colin began the protest, subsequently his teammates and everybody else who identified and joined. And that has nothing to do with disrespecting the anthem or disrespecting the flag or the military.
And if you want to know if that's true or not, you gotta watch the actions of the guys outside the field when they're not playing.
Yes.
Especially the Philadelphia Eagles, they have a lot of superstars that are actually active and helpful in the community with the programs that they do, joined with the law enforcement.
No, but the point is that America is bigger and greater than her symbols.
Yes.
So we don't feel diminished or less American if some guy in Kathmandu or some small community in Sahara Desert or somewhere in Europe or even within North America burns the flag. You don't see us cowering and say, "Oh, we feel so disrespected and dishonored."
I think it was It was the very smart Chris Rock that says that you shouldn't get shot just because somebody stepped on your brand new Puma.
Yes. So my point is, even if somebody does not stand for the anthem, it doesn't stop the anthem from being played. It doesn't stop people who want to stand, do all the proper etiquette with regarding the national anthem. Even the president has been nudged and progged sometime by his wonderful wife, our own first lady, to behave appropriately during the national anthem.
It's a reminder.
Yeah, so it's a reminder. People forget. So this is not, our allegiance is to the flag, and that it does not mean if you burn the flag, if you burn the flag, then we are done for. No, your allegiance is to the flag and the republic which it represents.
For which it stands, right?
It stands, which is one nation, what? Under God, indivisible, for what? Liberty and justice, what?
For all.
For all.
Just some.
So, my last point.
Yes.
It is high time Donald Trump and people like him get away from this notion that people of African descent are unpatriotic. We bled, we fought, we sacrificed to build up this country. Our patriotism cannot be questioned. Each time we question America about living up to her creed and her constitutional responsibilities towards our populace.
So there's something similar happened during Obama era. We talked about at least that didn't attend because they didn't like Obama and it wasn't a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, Obama got his he jumped ahead of a story of that actually I thought it was right, but a lot of people thought it was wrong, of Henry Gates Jr.
Mm-hmm.
getting home and never something that's happening much more recently. Never looking at him and
calling the cops, yes,
because he sees a black man going into a very good-looking neighborhood in a big house, and the police showing up, and after he identified himself, still the guy was still harassing him and promptly arrested a man that has proved that he's at his house, at his own home, trying to get into his house. So Obama thought that it was a stupid action for the police to arrest a man who they've identified to be just because they felt insulted.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't happy that he was being accosted at his house and being questioned as if he was a thief trying to burglarize his own house. So, what did Obama do to resolve that? Well, when people said, hey, he was wrong for jumping into this without knowing all the story and for blaming the police because it was just a black man, he promptly called a White House meeting and shared a beer between the police guy and Henry Gates and squashed the whole thing. So you would think that...
No, he didn't squash it.
Well, and at least settled between Henry Gates.
Well, it was his effort to try to diffuse the
That's
situation.
why. He tried to diffuse it, but I can tell you, hindsight being 2020, that was the beginning of what we are seeing now.
Well, first of all, I think the first thing to say here is that, like they say, haters be haters. And it doesn't matter how you try to appease them, haters be hating. Look, my stand on all of this.
Yes.
What does the law say about a man being harassed on his own homestead?
Well, it depends on where you live, but in most places you could stand your ground.
No, well, apart from standing your ground. So, if, for example, I am in my house, and remember, the porch is part of your house. You have a right to defend yourself. But if you are assaulted in your home, and you take your assailant to court, what is the law's responsibility? Because it seems to me that rather than scream to high heaven, you sue the police. So when you sue the police for harassment, you are in your house.
And you've established that it is your house.
No, you know the interesting thing, this is a catch-22. I heard a news report Chicago in the last 15 years has paid out close to
Ah.
650 million now dollars. Now, if you
Yes.
hear Chicago has paid,
Yes.
let's rephrase that.
Taxpayers.
Me and you,
Tax
taxpayers,
money.
Yes.
And-
black people, brown people,
And
white people,
if Chicago
all
has
people
paid that,
of Chicago.
how much has Illinois paid? And then they tell me about the pensions they couldn't fund, the education they couldn't fund, all the other things they couldn't do.
Now you're speaking my language.
Right?
Because at the end of the day, I still think
Yes.
that America understands dollars and cents.
Yes.
They may not listen to emotion
Yep.
or what is wrong, right or wrong, but when it comes to pocketbook issues, America
We know
gets
that
it.
'cause he hates me. I mean, your tax is going up, your real estate tax is going up.
Do you know how upset I am that in all the discussions of everything that is going on in this city, Chicago,
Yes.
have you seen somebody launch a campaign on the grounds that we should not be paying so much money to defend illegal activity from our boys
By
in
the
blue?
police, right?
Yeah, no, if you see, just like many of us who are professionals, you get a malpractice insurance. If you have something, if you do something that is unprofessional
Yep.
within the parameters of your scope of your work, you are liable.
Yes.
Now, if your employer
Yes.
may be liable if there's something that they didn't do,
Yes. But
Now-
your malpractice is covering you, not your employer. You pay for that.
and the employer has their own.
Yes.
Much as they employed you,
Yeah.
but they make sure that you're covered, they're covered. So I think it's high time that if you sign up to be a police officer, then you get your insurance to cover your own malfeasance. Liability, whatever you do that is outside of the scope of your professional ethics
Well,
or standards.
see, those are the things we should be fighting for.
Yes, yes. And then beyond that, if the city or whoever is in charge is not doing what they're supposed to do in holding accountable the police force, then they will have to pay the political price.
Yes. What about
Yes.
actually?
Yes.
I think if
But-
you,
So because it's
but-
unconscionable
Yes.
that Chicago would have paid 650 million, and a lot more is coming thanks to some of the legal clinics that are in Northwestern and all over Chicago,
Yep.
freeing a lot of people who were either wrongfully jailed, wrongfully accused, or tortured, or somehow,
evidence
evidence
all those
blinded.
kind of bad
That's
things.
right.
And it's usually a few bad apples.
So
No,
let
no,
me-
it's not a few bad apples. It's a system that
a
covers.
system that it's
that
a few bad
covers
apples
up.
and a system that encourages.
No, if you say it's a few
bad
bad apples, that is the political way of saying it. But let's be truthful. Look at the young man that had the incident in Milwaukee. If it was not for that video,
Yep.
the police officer right there on video was already distorting the facts.
Yes.
All those people that came around him,
Yeah.
none of them stood up to him and said, "Bro, this is a wrong call."
Right. And
None of them
they
at that
all supported the bad behavior.
until it blew up in their face. So right there, you got 6 men arriving, and all somebody would have said is,
but
"What's
even-
really going on
even-
there?"
even-
And called out the officer and say, "Hey, let this young man go."
Even the young
Or give him a
man,
ticket.
Is it Laquan McDonald, the one
Yes.
that was shot in the back?
That's
Yes.
right.
The other officers lied
Yes.
to cover up the fact
And
that he
the
was
video showed the truth because all the other officers got there and the guy was walking away and they
Yes.
waited quietly at their car.
Yeah.
This guy shows up and starts shooting like he was in the OK car.
and all of them covered up
Yeah.
for him.
Yes. So that is why I do not agree that it is a few bad apples. It's a systemic issue.
But it goes back to where we started. Why do these things happen? Because what our response to it is to go and march in the streets, to go and protest, to go and but that to me is the wrong response. somebody needs to begin to articulate this in a way that every right-thinking person can understand. If you are a teacher, that your pension is underfunded, that you don't know where, this is where the money is going. If you are, okay, let me give you something, a statistic that we don't even think about. Chicago used to be the third largest city in the United States.
Yes.
After New York and LA.
Yes. Now people are moving.
Now, I'm not sure we're fifth.
Because people are deciding
Houston
to
has
move
overtaken
away
Chicago.
out of here because
Phoenix
of tax.
will probably overtake. Why? Because this, our state, is really in decline.
Yes.
And it is in decline because politicians have decided that they will not do right.
And,
Eh?
and we encourage this by supporting the politicians either by voting for them or abstaining from voting for the right people.
Or even, well, you have two newspapers.
Yes.
You have the Tribune, you have the Sun.
Yeah, sometimes.
Which one of them has really come out and looked at this issue of police brutality and talk about it in terms of kitchen table
Wow.
issues?
So they'll probably tell you that their audience are not looking for those.
No,
kind of
no,
stories.
I-
Because it's the same thing we're saying that if the lion don't tell their tale, then the hunter will continue. If you are part of the class that is being maltreated and mistreated,
Yeah.
and you don't have your own press or people who think who have your welfare at heart, then they'll continue to ignore your issues.
No, you see, the failure is at various levels.
Yes.
The city council that controls the budget, they ought to be the ones. And of course, there are a lot of people of color in the city
Those
council.
positions, yes.
So long as you have money to pay out, the police keeps doing what they are doing. The guy gets a pat in the back, administrative discipline, if he ever gets anything, because we hardly see anybody convicted. Then the next thing you hear, he's out and he finds another municipality far down in the suburbs
And gets
where
a
he
new job,
where he gets a new job. But who is paying the millions of dollars?
His pension is intact, but
The taxpayers.
Yours is in jeopardy.
Yes.
Yours
Yes.
is in jeopardy.
Yes,
Well,
the taxpayers. So I think part of what I believe straight up is saying it's high time we hold every layer of the government accountable. The mayor, the city council, and stop. Let it be clear to the police officers when you sign up to work in our cities that you're responsible for your liabilities. You know, because unless the city is saying we take full responsibility for all your actions because we prepared you to behave in that way.
I'll give you an argument from the politicians about them getting their own insurance. The argument will be, well, if we do that, we're not going to get any person sign up to be part of the law enforcement, and we won't have enough people. We can't be able to recruit enough people because now we are putting a tax on them joining.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about recruitment.
This is before you talk about that, let me point out that the very good thing about a free market is that it has a way of correcting itself.
Yes.
In every single situation where individuals buy malpractice insurance, in as much as group rates may go up, the person who is directly responsible for a spike in payouts gets hit financially the most.
Yes.
Therefore, as a policeman, you go and do something illegal, and the malpractice and the insurance company has to pay out. Your personal rate goes up. And if it goes up high enough, it gets to a place where you can no longer afford your premium.
Actually, I like that not only his rate goes up, I like that the rate of the group goes up.
Yes.
Because now the group will start advising you,
Absolutely.
you can't do this.
Absolutely.
You're costing me money.
No, so don't. That is why free markets are a good thing.
Yeah.
They will correct all these inequities if given a chance. So that should not fly at all. That you
So
know.
you're saying the recruitment will not be affected?
No, how can
It's just a bad
no, no,
experience.
think about recruit. If you look at recruitment this way,
Yes.
if you go to Ward 1 in Chicago and you say we need the police station there, that the precinct, we need 50 police officers.
Yes.
There are enough people in Ward 1 who would like to go and serve as community police officers. The same all throughout the wards. Let me tell you, if we adopt community policing, is not finding sending
I
police,
think-
but if
I
you
think-
find people of the same who live in the same community, in the same neighborhood, I tell you about the
It should
conversation.
be a requirement for the police to live in the
No,
community.
let me tell you a conversation I had with a young man, and it's a young man of African descent in my village, and we were talking about. He actually came to ticket me on my driveway, for which he had no reason for. But anyway, we started having a conversation, and I asked him. I said, "Do you live in this community?" He said, "No. How can I live in the community where I am arresting thieves?" I said,
What?
"Oh, so this community is a community of thieves. That's the way you're perceived." He says, "No, not really." But anyway, I stepped up and asked him one question that always bothered me. I said, "When you guys were in police college, what did they teach you guys about working with minority communities?" He said, "To be honest with you, I was the only minority in a class of 60 in my time.
So it was not-
And there was nothing that was brought up about cultural sensitivity, diversity, issues about, and then he said something that was profound, that most of the guys who were in his class have not really interacted with people of color, except one time that they had just this diversity talk, and of course everybody was not comfortable
walk around the
that, and they felt that if they were going to have a problem with this their newfound career, it would be working in minority communities, and nothing was done at that level of training to make them feel confident and competent enough to interact with people of color. So that is right there the problem. So if the city, I mean, Starbucks as an organization
Shut
is
down
saying,
today.
is giving us some examples of corporate responsibility on how to address issues like this. If the cities cannot know how to diversify their police force and make it homegrown, meaning go to the communities where they will serve, let them live there, and recruit people from there, I don't think we'll have a problem with recruitment.
Even if they are not able to recruit from the community, I'm thinking the requirement should be you live where you serve.
Well, already, live where you serve, it depends on exactly how you
Not the kind of Chicago
define that.
city.
Well,
live
there you
within the
go.
city.
There you
No,
go.
no, no.
Because
I mean, if whatever precinct that you go to and you serve, you live in that
so
zip code.
that really is right back to community policing.
Yes.
You police your community.
Mhm.
You understand your community. You know your
you wake
community.
up with them. You
But
hang
you
out with them,
realize,
you
of
sleep.
course, that immediately you begin to enforce community policing, there will be a big shift in demographics.
Oh, and there will be a big
Mhm.
shift in funding.
Well, the city should not shift funding because funding is funding.
Yeah.
But the point
That's
is,
not what's happening to schools in this city, right? So there's a shift in funding based on where the schools are.
no, you fund the police is an organization. You don't fund them community by community. You fund them globally.
You
Okay.
would think the educational institutions are an organization that you don't fund them like that. That's what we're seeing. But I mean, I hear
No.
you.
If
What
you-
will happen is they will militarize the precincts that are in the minority areas, give them all the guns and ammos, and then the people out in the suburbs, in the nicer communities, will walk around with batons and
Well, so that's fine.
right.
That's
yeah,
fine.
no, but
That's fine.
the point is, if I live in a community and I'm a police officer,
Yes.
and I decide to have grenades and surface to air missile to go into my community,
That's your problem.
then the people, my neighbors, over a barbecue or some community
Event.
or
Or church.
maybe
We'll let
or
you-
church,
we'll let you
hey,
know.
we'll see, man, are you
We'll
crazy?
have a committee.
Are you,
and something. Yes.
You see, so that is the social control. But this goes to what we have been talking about nationally. The moment we start trying to understand each other, then we stop all this demagoguing and trying to blame this person or blame that person.
And that
Going back to the NFL issue, which is where
Where
this whole conversation started. You see, NFL can only survive because there are a lot of minorities that are also participants and helping fuel that. The pride that America feels when every one black man stands on the podium and the anthem is played
Yes.
at every international meet should speak to the patriotism of those men. And many of them do those at their own peril. They work hard all their life to be at the place where they are. Imagine the kind of the honor that Jesse Owens
Brought to America.
brought to the America at the Munich Olympic Games, right? Now, the same goes for NFL. Most of our communities and cities are known by the players. So if you say Philadelphia Eagles, there's somebody, people know who is there and what city it is. These are public relations efforts that help make America great in the eyes of the world. And so you cannot just, even as the owners, that's why I like what the manager of the New York team did. He said if any of them wanted to exercise their First Amendment right of free speech, that the organization will pay the fine.
But I actually like that you brought the owners into it, because I know a few years ago that the NFL had an issue that was similar to this, not the same, and it had to do with their minority quarterbacks. Can minorities be quarterback? And there was big debate that actually made me cringe of saying that minorities do not have the capacity to plan,
The
and
mental
think, and
ability.
the mental ability
Yes.
to quarterback a team. And look today, come out as a black or brown quarterback, and the teams are fighting to get you, because it seems like you guys actually could run, could throw, could do everything all at once.
No, where that starts. When they start at the level of 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, who gets chosen, who gets the opportunity to receive the ball as a quarterback. So if the minorities come in, they're looking at them as muscle people
And
to do the defense
run and out
and do the running. But unless somebody somewhere gives a young kid the opportunity to try their hands at throwing, because it's the same athletic skills that you need.
Where I'm going with my conversation
yeah.
is the front office has now got a few minorities. We actually got to the point. We had the same conversation about coaches, and we got over that. We're hiring a lot more minority coaches.
Yes.
I am going to say now it's time that we start having minority owners. It's time that we stop talking about coaching and running and throwing and start talking about owning. And once you get the ownership, once you become the landlord, you can park wherever you want.
Now, yeah, that is true, and that is something that I don't think. I think what the challenge for many of people in the NFL players now, is if they really feel passionate about police brutality and bringing it to an end, to take the protest a little further. Like many of them have said, I think we've made the point. There's no need, sitting down or not standing. That has not. We've made our point. I want them to take it to the next level through actions that will force the country to look at this issue of injustice. Police brutality is real. It is real.
I'm not sure. Okay, but the athletes have brought it to light.
Yes.
They have emphasized the anger and helplessness that is present in certain segments of
And
society.
nothing has been done.
My feelings, they have done their part.
Yes.
This country has a lot of people in different places. Like I say, let's go back to just to what we talked about a few minutes ago. Can somebody that is a journalist do a simple job of picking out and publishing how much money that cities have paid out due to police malbehavior? Go ahead and tell me what it means in terms of the annual premiums that you pay to cover police departments, and break it down as to what percentage of the city budget. These are things that will begin to resonate. That's a job these athletes cannot do that. You have people who are part of big law firms, and I have said this over and over again. A lot of this action, you can take legal action against them because some of it is illegal.
Yeah, but the point though is we have the athletes have a burden.
Well,
They are supposed not to be political.
yep.
The owners want them to be neutral and just cuddle babies. Yeah, just play the game. But interestingly, their speech is hindered. So it is really courageous. Someday, sometime, down the road,
Yes.
somebody is going to look at Colin and give him a courage award.
Oh, he got one already.
I mean,
He
okay,
got
that's
one
true.
already.
From the
Amnesty. I think it was
International.
Amnesty International. Yes.
So for standing up, because you see, that is what is beautiful about America. I had a conversation today at work, and one of my coworkers was saying, "Why can't we all just look at the positive and not keep talking about the negative?" You know that this is a very great country. You know, if you go outside of America, so many bad things happen in those other countries that don't happen here. We should be glad that we are in America. I said fine, and I told her, I said, as somebody who grew up outside of America, the reason why those places are the way they are is because there is no Bill of Rights, which is number one, the freedom of speech. And that is how America has been able to perfect their union, by the ability of our
Trying to
citizens.
protect our union.
Yes, but that's the ability of our citizens to challenge America when America is not living up to her creed.
Yes.
And that is what is beautiful about our country. And we cannot lose that. And that's why the uproar about some of the decision that was made by the NFL owners, that if you don't want to be part of it, you stay in the locker room. For some, it is actually infringing on their right, their freedom of their Bill of Rights.
The players' unions should have something to say about that.
I
The
agree.
NFL Players Association should actually challenge that in court.
I agree.
Because it's unconstitutional.
It is unconstitutional.
They can't tell them. I mean, I know they will say, well, in a place of employment, your employer could have policies and rules, but there are things that your employer does that infringes on your right that is
Beyond policy. Yes.
They can't tell you how to express yourself. Yes. Well, who knows? Lawyers who know better than me may say that while they may not do that, they may have consequences for how you express it.
Yes.
If you're listening to us, you're listening to GHC 98.3 FM, a community radio station, a community-funded radio station, and we thank you for listening. We really appreciate you listening to us, but we also ask that you help us. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we live on your donations. That's how we fund this radio station. That's how we pay our rent. That's how we pay for the equipment. So please go to our website, wghcfm.org. Go to the top right-hand corner and click the button Donate. All donations are tax-deductible, and we really, really appreciate your donations. Today we're discussing the uninvitation of the Philadelphia Eagles to the White House celebration by our President Donald Trump. and his celebration of America on the White House lawn instead. And we're talking about what that really means in the national discourse and globally. And that's what we're talking about. If you're listening to us on Facebook or on your tuning app on Android or Windows, or your WGAC 98.3 FM app on iOS, we welcome you to the conversation. If you want to be part of the conversation and want to call into the radio station, please dial the number 773-942-7167. 773-942-7167. So we're going to continue the conversation. Once again, it's about, at least currently, we're talking about this invitation of the NFL Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, to the White House. And we're talking about what that means to the discuss of the country and how we should really see it and what our thoughts are from an Igbo perspective. So before I started the break, or the mini announcement, we were talking about the NFL and the Players Association and what they should do and how the athletes have done their part and what the rest of us should do, and calling on journalists and people who could be able to do the work, statistician and as such, to help us understand the breakdown of the numbers of what is costing this nation for the real story behind the kneeling, which is the misadventures of the police and their brutality on the citizens.
Yes.
I started talking about the NFL ownership, but actually I knew how difficult that was when I was going down that route. What I was actually trying to do is just trying to evoke some conversation about, is NFL the only game in town? I mean, can we start an ownership? Because NFL actually is losing viewers. I don't know, somebody explained it to me differently, that they're not really losing viewers because they're not losing any money. The viewership may be down, but they've signed lucrative deals with Fox and some of the TV stations. They've signed, the stadiums are all glossed over with advertisements, and they've signed other deals. So
naming rights and all of that.
So they're not really hurting, but I'm wondering if the owners, I know some owners have supported the players and said you have rights to protest whatever you want and are willing to pay the fee. But if the owners don't look like the players that are protesting, I'm wondering if a lot of them do understand. Not, I mean, I guess my wording may be way off, because I know some of them do understand, but especially the ones that are standing with them. But for the ones that don't understand, and for the NFL declining, I'm thinking it may be just an opportunity for a new league, like a league of their own.
Well, I'll tell you, I personally think that we as citizens of this country should be working hard to unite. And I will also tell you that my personal feeling is that the overwhelming majority of Americans would like a kinder, gentler America. This element, which unfortunately was really brought to the fore by our current president.
Well, somebody disagreed. Who was I listening to? Rick Santorum of the Republican Congress. He was saying that actually this started with Obama. I tend to believe him.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I mean. When he said that this started with Obama, his argument was that Obama brought it to fore. I don't think Obama did. I think a reaction to Obama.
Oh, the reaction to Obama as a black president.
Yes, brought
out
this
a
whole
lot of
raw feelings of some.
Yes, but
that's when people started saying that the country will change fundamentally, which I'm not sure what that meant.
Might I point out to you that on every single occasion where you see Obama in a rally, and there are thousands of people, the majority are Caucasian.
Because it's not a white or black thing.
Well, go and look at his inauguration in DC. Even though that a lot of African Americans were enthused and drove and found a way to get to DC for the inauguration, go and look at those pictures, majority
You're
of the
going to-
people there were
You're going to
still
invoke anger by
Caucasian.
pulling
You-
up
you see-
crowd size again.
Let me tell you.
No, the point I'm
you-
trying to make here is that I still believe that the element that is bringing in this Jim Crowian behavior is still a fringe. And the problem is that good people often stay home.
Yeah.
Well-
No. Mazio,
Yes.
can I disagree?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, you-
No.
Absolutely.
You see,
Disagree.
you need to understand
Yes.
at their country.
Yes.
When Obama spoke at John Kerry's Democratic Convention,
Yes.
When
He
said
spoke
there's
a
no white
language
America, there's no black,
that
brown
rallied all Americans because within our hearts,
Yes.
America.
we all believe that all men are created equal. Until somebody else starts telling us,
That we are
but
not.
some are
more,
created.
more people than the other.
No. So, but when he spoke that truth,
Yes. A lot of-
it was a
that's-
great speech.
that's how
It
he
was a
got
great
his
sermon.
shine, right?
America likes a great speech and a great sermon. But when the people who are afraid of America coming together as one heard that, fear went down their spine. And you could see that fear expressed in John McCain's rallies. Because that was where it started. That was where the demagoguing started. Even the choice of the vice president was also all reflected into that kind of thinking. Now, my point is this, that Obama spoke a language that Americans wanted to identify with, to see if this old demon
Could
will be
purged.
dealt with.
I remember. I
And-
remember the video that started to say it was written in the Constitution and the documents, and then it ends with, "Yes, we can."
Yeah.
With the Black Eyed Peas, with many actresses,
Yes.
black, white, green, yellow.
Yes. So it is, incidentally, we backslide easily. And I tell you, it is not a fringe group
Yes.
that is causing the problem.
Okay.
While I say it's not the fringe group, when you really look at the Constitution, which many of us believe is based on the Judeo-Christian tradition
Okay.
of this country.
And was written by people who were fleeing and were oppressed and
No.
had a
No.
kind of thinking.
Let me stay
That was
with
different.
let me stay with the
Yes.
Judeo-Christian foundation
Yes.
of our civilization.
Yes.
You ask yourself, how many churches are actually pursuing diversity and integration actively? At the
Sunday
core,
is the most
no,
segregated.
and it has to be said. It has to be said that if the church in America does not rise up and actually deal with the demon within the church, which we read the Bible that says we are all descendants of Noah. Because if we believe in the creation story, if we believe in what Genesis says, that at the end of the flood, there was a family left, which was Noah and his 3 boys with their wives, which means every people of the earth came from him. So every one of us,
That's if you believe the Bible.
no,
and
no,
you're reading the Bible.
the church. I'm talking about the
I'm
church.
talking about the church. in
Based,
America.
because the church, we're all Bible believing, right?
Yes.
Now, so why will we still have issues of distinctions? People talk about racism. Oh, we're different race, white race. There's only one race, the human race. There are various ethnicities. We know that. We all trace our ancestry to one man, and that's Noah. So what is your problem? So when somebody rises up and says that so and so is a combination of some planet of apes and somebody, that actually is believed. And part of it is being perpetuated because the church is the custodian of those lies and those demagoguery. And it's true.
Yes.
I know what I'm talking about
The church
because
is divided.
myself,
Yes.
I have faced that kind of discriminatory tendencies within the church. I told you guys, I don't know if I mentioned to you, a
You
pastor
told the story.
that said that he will no longer be my friend because it seems like I supported Obama. I supported Obama because he's trying to destroy the country that he believed in. Now, compare him with what we have now, and you tell me who is destroying the country.
Yes.
But let's not deceive ourselves. We are back to the post-Reconstruction era when some elements of the South decided that the gains by the Africans following the Civil War will need to be pushed back. So many of those same people, politicians, Christian, so many clergy, that's why you have not seen anybody of faith in the Christian right of any kind of standing come out and look at Donald Trump, who everybody has not agreed is a lying president, and tell him, bro, to lie is a sin.
Yes.
Nobody has said that.
So let's take a step back.
Yes.
There is no doubt that, especially, permit me to point out to you that I have friends who are of color, who also believe the hype, who also think that Donald Trump is the Messiah come again.
Well, but a lot of people believe
so,
that about Obama.
Yeah,
too.
well, no. But the point, yeah, that is true.
Yes.
The point I'm actually trying to make here is that
It depends
that
on what
the
was sold.
the evangelical community
Yes.
has rallied very strongly behind Donald Trump.
Yes.
Says a lot about the hypocrisy in the church.
Well,
I agree. However, it would be nice to really look at demographics in a different way. Obama won an election. Obama beat John McCain. And Romney. Who voted for Obama? Was it only people of color? No.
if all people of color voted for Obama and everybody else voted for somebody else, he would have lost.
So I will also let you know that the election that brought Donald Trump in
was not just all white people either.
was there was more to it than pure racism.
Yes.
If the story had been vote for Donald Trump because he's a white guy, I don't think he would have won. The point is, the people who ran his campaign understood the pain, and no matter how we want to cut this, I think it is true.
Yes.
America, there is rural America, they have their issues. They have their issues. And in as much as, no matter how you look at it, some of it has to be addressed.
Okay.
So,
Let me ask the question.
Yeah.
What need does rural America have that this current president have specifically
What was sold and what has
addressed?
been
no, but that is the point.
Yes.
They were sold a pipe dream. They were sold a pipe dream.
So
The question then becomes, why don't we wait?
But it wasn't just rural America.
Why don't
I
we
want to
wait?
also say that it wasn't just rural America.
Okay.
Blue collar.
The Republicans were busy convincing everybody who has eyes that what they were seeing, their eyes were lying to them.
Yes.
That Obama was doing nothing. That so they told us that the unemployment rate that we are seeing is highly exaggerated. That it wasn't falling. That it's at 15% when we were saying it's at 6%.
Yes.
So
Or 5, or less than 5.
They did a good job convincing the country that all that we were hearing from the administration that was before Donald Trump was propaganda.
Yes.
A lot of people.
and that the media was the one.
The media has always
Yes.
been in the Democrats'
Remember
back as long as
Breitbart?
Yes.
as long as
Yeah.
Republicans can.
So fake news began while he was in
Nah,
government.
it wasn't called fake news.
the bigger, I
He
think-
was called.
so.
He was called Rush Limbo.
Wow,
No,
that-
no, no,
well, some people get their
the point-
real information from Rush.
the point there, when you cut it all, dice it all up, is still that
Yes.
a lot of people voted for Donald Trump,
On their
not purely based on race.
hope and aspiration.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Yes. Some
There
people
is a group in this country, and it is larger than a lot of people really know, that are totally in sync with this issue of Aryan superiority. And they like it, and they want America to remain that way.
Yes.
The point I'm making is there are a lot more Caucasians specifically who do not feel that way.
Well, you can't
And
say
I think-
you're supporting an area race and be something on the
No, that's why.
Caucasian.
That's why.
just
No,
gonna-
no. Well,
Yes.
so I want to exclude everybody who is non-Aryan, quote unquote.
Yes.
I am saying if you pull white people and line them all up, a surprising number of them do not agree with what is going on right now.
Yes.
But I think the proof of the pudding will be, let us wait and see at the next presidential election
No.
where things will
but
be.
Policy,
No, no.
policy matters, right? So
Mhm.
so in this country there's a huge divide. Some of us claim to be independent, and sometimes I find my independence challenged because I find myself on one side or the other. But
Yes.
there's, other than those people who are truly independent, if you could find them, there's two sides. You can be on the fence. You're either Republican
Or
or you're
Democrat.
the problem I have with that is that anybody who says that they're Democrats seem to agree with every policy that is colored in blue,
Yes.
even when it's against your own.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same with
Same
Republicans. I agree.
And that's what I think the problem is, because some of the Republicans who challenge Donald Trump on some of the things that I may agree with them on, challenging the president to say, hey, this is not the right thing to do. When the vote comes down, where do they vote? They vote on the right side. And the Democrats on the other side, when Nancy Pelosi or whoever says the policy sets it, even though it's something that is against what you're thinking or your feelings about it, you vote on the blue line even when you're against it. That is stupidity and foolishness, if you ask me.
Well,
You're representing the
well-
people that picked you. They picked you for your own intelligence, not for a group
No.
think.
So no, not just group thinking. Politics and democracy, the way it works, is scratch my back, I scratch your back. No. Because if you're not a party loyalist, at least 80% of the
They
time,
won't help you win an election.
no, you cannot win election when you have a bill. Then nobody will support
Who
you.
goes on your
So
bill.
you must play some of that game, okay?
And that's where we have a
But,
problem.
But-
we've had politicians who have also been known as quote unquote mavericks.
Mavericks.
Nobody see. Okay, let's talk about the Maverick.
Yes.
The Mavericks, when it mattered, they lost their maverickness.
Yes.
Which
because-
is what Obama needed. You see, there are two things that I say I wish those two men were still around, were around during Obama's tenure. If Ted Kennedy was still around, and I wanted to see, I would have loved to
the
see
climate change,
what
he may not
Ted
have been able
Kennedy.
to do
No,
better.
I would have loved to see what Ted Kennedy and McCain would have done throughout that whole administration. Because remember, McCain was always seen as a maverick. And many of us admired him for his courage, his service, his dedication, his outspokenness, his clarity of vision, and his principles where you could always know where he will stand. And he's not the one who's going to toe the party line. He ran against Bush, Straight Talk Express. What happened? He gathered a lot of momentum until they did a number on him.
They found a way.
When they did the number on him, he knew he needed the establishment.
He
If-
went establishment.
So he moved towards the establishment and got, of course, got the nomination as he should.
Yes.
But there were
That's the
elements.
thing about eating with the devil.
No,
you
no,
gotta get a long
there were
spoon.
no, no,
There
no,
you
no,
go.
no. He did not. He shouldn't
He
have
did
lost.
not get a long spoon.
He shouldn't have lost his maverickness. But when he
Somebody
made a
funded.
choice of the VP, it outstanded many of us because, for
Yes.
this reason,
Yes.
he had better people he could have chosen.
He was trying to be a maverick.
So, because remember, that's what I'm saying, that at that stage, the Republican establishment, or what they see as their base, was looking for somebody who would throw them red meat. And Sarah Palin represented that.
He thought he played a card that would allow him to win. The way I saw it, I thought that the question they placed in front of the American public was, are you willing to elect your first black president, or would you rather have your first female vice president? That's how I saw that question.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
But you see, at that point, you need to see the amount of venom and anger that was in his campaign. Quite unlike him. Remember, at some point, he was the one
he tried to quiet it down.
quelling everybody.
That's where so that's what I was saying, that he signed a contract with a group and he couldn't get himself out of it.
No, but then at the end of the election,
Yes.
Obama did what most Africans would do:
Get everybody
get everybody together.
and try to
Obama
have a
asked Michelle, "Please cook some of your best food,
Yes,
and
bring
let
it
me
out.
have John McCain over. Let's talk. Let's hash things out, and let's see how we can work together to heal the country, bring the country together, and actually govern
But-
from the center."
But by then, the rest of the Republican Congress
Well,
were
fired
already
up.
having a meeting
On-
saying that this is our plan, this is what we're going
He
to
will
do
not
from the
succeed.
So,
Yes.
I'm glad that we're
They
because
put the country on the back burner for their own gains.
good, because it's important that we understand that Donald Trump is a product of Mitch McConnell's and Republican Congress
Yes.
having that conversation about Obama's regime.
But do you see how it backfired on them?
No, now,
Because
but see,
my neck of the woods, there's there's a village right next to us that usually says that they have the bee and the wasp. And the response from my neck of the woods is, well, the problem is now you got honey and you're getting stung.
Yeah.
So you get the bee and the wasp together.
yeah. So that whole if John McCain
Yes.
stood with Obama, remember the debate on the healthcare debate.
Yes.
Obama brought in a lot of Republican ideas in order to win Republican votes.
But they already made a decision that it
At
doesn't-
that White
it
House,
doesn't
at that
matter.
White House conference,
Yes.
remember the famous statement, "John, the campaign is over."
Yes.
That was Obama.
But they were campaigning for Romney.
It was over. Meanwhile,
So
Obamacare
that was-
is Romney Care on 2.0.
That's because you want to. They named it Obamacare to get it away from being called anything else.
Yeah, so
You know, Obamacare is different from the
affordable
ACA.
healthcare.
So people want their ACA, but not Obamacare.
Yeah, so but the point is for us to get back to civility.
Yes.
Let's be honest. I know why the conservatives, like you say, see Trump as they're supporting him.
It's a vehicle.
No,
to
no,
ride
no.
them
It is
win the
actually
election.
dining with the wrong guy simply because you can get something out of him.
His
They know.
policies have benefited him, no matter what he says or how
No,
erratic
no, no,
he
no,
seems
no,
to
no.
his actions
You see, the issue is there are a couple of things that are important to the conservatives. They want control of the Supreme Court.
are. Got it. Check.
They want a symbolic movement of the embassy to Jerusalem.
Check.
Now, whether that
Abortion.
no, you see,
if they get that one, then
No,
Donald
no.
Trump is going to
You
come
see,
back next year.
no. The point
In
is
2 years.
the point
Because
is
those are the issues.
that you see again. I tell people
Yes.
the only way abortion will stop in America,
Never say never.
the only way it will stop
It
in
will
America
stop. Right. Not being banned or being outlawed.
is the women and their men
Yes.
make a decision not to abort their child. You cannot legislate morality. And there is nothing.
You could
No,
punish people for doing something that
you cannot.
If you kill somebody, it's morality.
No.
I could punish you for.
You see, the reason why, and let's be clear, I have my own views about that.
Yes.
The same argument that the abortionists made at the Supreme Court in 1973 is the argument that they heard with I think it's Plessy versus Ferguson,
Yes.
saying that the black man has no right that the American Constitution can defend.
Yeah.
So, literally, what the abortionists were saying is that American in the womb has no right that the Constitution of America can defend. And that is a very, very difficult argument to overcome. The same way, like the church will cry, oh, but they have allowed everybody else, who, no matter who, you can marry anybody you love. Fine. That argument that was made to legalize same-sex marriage was the same argument that Africans made, and people of African descent and the minorities made, that they need equal protection under the law. And so, when we fail to do what is right as a nation, we set ourselves up for all kinds of things to follow. Do you understand what I'm saying?
With somebody where I was saying, if you remember, I'm going to go to same-sex marriage. If you remember what the conversation was before we got to same-sex marriage, it was just the living partner. What actually got this was that somebody wanted to actually be able to see their partner that was dying
in hospital,
and somebody else wanted to be able to take over the property that they both had. And we moved the ball. I mean, we started defending the Defense of Marriage Act. So somebody was asking, I just want to be left alone to stay in the same apartment with somebody, or be able to visit somebody that put my
as
name
next
there.
of kin.
And we started doing the Defense of Marriage Act. It's almost like me and you are fighting over. I mean, I'm trying to defend my goalpost right here. Actually, we were in the midfield, and I'm trying to stop you from coming across the field to my part of the field.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what? Me defending over here is too much for me. I'm going to move to the front of my goalpost. I'm going to defend from the front of my goalpost. Now, I mean, I don't blame people for pushing farther to where you told them the line was. And I've had this. I have my own personal views, and some people may try to figure out what. At some point, I agree with you that at some point we have to start saying, you know what is the right thing for me to do versus what should I allow for, what should I let my neighbor do until they get convinced otherwise, or what should my neighbor allow me and leave me alone?
No,
to do
the
until I get
fundamental
convinced
truth is that in a democracy,
otherwise.
one vote.
Yes. One voice, one vote.
One
person,
voice, one vote.
Yes.
So the people decide.
Yes.
Now, you may disagree, like I have my views,
then walk.
but the point is, you don't expect anything better from a democracy. It's one of the weakest forms of government. If you have a monarchy
He says
and
what
you have a
should be done.
good king or a good queen,
Thank you, Lord.
and they stay with you, that's the best form of government. And that's what I tell
tyranny,
and that's what I
deal
tell
with that.
Christians,
Yes.
that the kingdom to which we belong
Yes.
is a kingdom. So the king says it's a decree. So, but if you have a bad king, then you have a dictatorship.
It is a
But the
king.
point is, that is the only kind of government where you can get anything that you want by decree. But in democracy, you have to convince everybody,
Yes.
or you create a majority, and that's what I tell the church. If we are out on the street winning souls and getting everybody to our own point of view, then we'll win the argument, because the votes will be there to win the argument.
and we are winning souls by standing very firmly behind a president that has shown himself to be morally bankrupt.
And that is the challenge. You see, that is the challenge.
So,
If
because-
somebody from outside is looking in,
Yes.
and they say, if this is what a Christian looks like in leadership,
I don't want to be that because, again, go and look at Europe. the Christianity is dying. You look at America right now, you may have a lot of fundamental Christians that, yes, because in many ways it is also fundamentalist.
Yes, yes.
Go and look at the next generation coming up behind them. What are their beliefs? Look at the kids that are standing now, rallying, fighting for their rights. Where is the church in the fore in terms of gun violence in schools?
Yes.
And so where is the church in terms of social issues?
So this is where I take it back to the NFL, right? So when it comes to the church and you start discussing things like this, people will say, well, you know, church is about faith. You got to separate the church and the state. We don't do politics.
Okay.
Just
Yet.
like we would tell the athletes to shut up and play ball, you should not get into politics. But that is wrong because the church, at least the Church of Jesus Christ, is a political movement. From the onset, it was an affront to the political system and has continued to be. It has always been politics. The church is not Republican or Democrat because the church, the Christian church, it's its own party.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I know that there are rules about preaching who to vote for or similar things at the pulpit because you lose your 501c. But you should not be doing that anyway. You should be preaching or teaching what the Bible says you should do. There are moral codes to follow, but the most of that, the best of all those is love. And how you treat the next person. Actually, that's how you win souls. You don't win souls by the amount, by the veracity of your argument. You
Yeah.
win souls by how you act and behave.
You know, if you really take a step back
Yes.
and look at the world we live in, one has to accept that if you are true to yourself,
Yes.
you
And
begin to
yourself
you
too.
you begin to see that a lot of things that quote unquote bind us are very fickle. You cannot have a situation where you I think that context of working blindly in faith is something that has to be passé, because I do not see myself sitting and acquiescing to somebody coming out and telling me things that I find odious to me personally. If you look at the church in America, are we really one church? Are we really one church? Or are we a white church versus a black church versus a mixed church versus a
Hispanic,
yeah,
Korean,
yeah.
Chinese,
Are we really one
African.
congregation?
The church is practicing diversity in a different way. But you are listening to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. And we're discussing current affairs. We started from the North Korea summit. We've talked about the disinvitation of the Eagles. We've gone into the policing of the communities, and we are now discussing the activism or the
lack
thereof of the church in politics. So if you like what you hear, we thank you for joining us, and we ask you to continue to listen to us. We come to you on Tuesdays between 9 and 11 p.m. U.S. Central, and on Saturdays we do reach out to Africa. We talk everything Africa, especially Nigeria mostly, and that's between 4 and 6 p.m. on Saturdays. So thanks for listening to us, and we are also coming to you on WGHC 98.3 FM, which is a public supported and not-for-profit radio station. We thank those who have donated already. If you haven't and you want to support us, please go to WGHCFM.org and donate. We thank you tremendously for your support, and all your donations are tax deductible. We will continue the conversation, and if you want to, you could write this number down. You could call it today or call us another day. If you like what you hear, you could leave a message on our Facebook page. You could also email us. To get us by email is straight talk radio, one word, at igboheritage.org. And to get us at the radio station. The number is 773-942-7167. Thanks for your continued participation and listening. We like to hear from our audience because although we talk as if we are very, very smart, we actually like hearing from you, and sometimes, who knows, we may even learn or get corrected on the things that we thought we knew before. That's what we are hoping will happen when you listen to us, that we may, by our conversation, be able to give you arguments that give you more information, or is able to convince you to our side of the argument. And if you have something that will convince us, we would like to hear that too. Once again, the number is 773-942-7167.
Yeah, and one of the things why I think it's important that the conversation we're having around the church is because, I mean, I will consider myself a leader in the church.
I know they minister too.
If we do not learn from history, we will falter once again. I want to draw everybody's attention to what happened to the church. Say, and I'll use Nigeria for
The
example.
Reformation?
No, no, I don't want to go to Europe. I
Okay.
just want to,
Stick with
contemporary.
the African,
Okay.
yes.
Contemporary.
Yes.
When the missionaries came, they did a great job of trying to represent to us what Christ has taught. In the process, though, the distance between the missionary and the colonial government was quite close.
Yes, they were not.
That sometimes if the district officer was on leave, the local missionary was asked to serve on his stead.
Yes.
So they both played in the tennis court or the clubs or the whatever social activities that they had.
Yes.
And so when our people got tired of the mission of the colonial government, guess what? We started fighting for independence, and we threw out the missionary together with the colonial master
You can't tell a difference.
because they looked alike.
act
They said
alike.
they seemed to be working in cahoots. There was no way the missionaries who followed after came and said, "Look, we are here about the kingdom of God, not British government."
I've heard the expression that the white man came with Bible in one hand and the gun in the other. That's
No.
because of there were just not that much separation. So people saw it
Yeah.
like you were.
Yeah, and to be honest, most of the people who came to Igbo initially were not white people. They were freed African
Africans.
slaves,
Yes.
Igbo people with some Yoruba people who were Christians out of Sierra Leone from the project by the Church Missionary Society. They were the pioneers, subsequently followed by some of the other white missionaries. But my point being, this was what happened in Africa, in Nigeria, for example, until the 70s, when a homegrown revival and acceptance of Christianity as indigenous a wind began to blow. And people now saw this is no longer, it's not a white man's religion, it's us and Christ.
Yes. It's a relationship.
Now,
between me and my God.
Sometimes we talk about the fact that Arab nations, Muslim communities, that, we want to see them come to Christianity. Many of them are looking to America, and the church is telling everybody that America is a Christian nation. So the guy in Saudi, the guy in Iraq, in Iran,
Saying
and
if
in
this is a
Somali,
Christian station, you
and
keep
Sudan. And so if they're looking at all these things going on, and some of the people that we've chosen to rally around as examples of Christians
Yes.
are not actually behaving Christ-like, how are you going to win people to your side? So when we conduct our diplomacy and conduct our foreign policy, not in the light of the mind of Christ, then you actually pose a challenge to the church. So I will rather prefer that everybody, if you go on behalf of the flag, please go on behalf of the flag. If you're going on behalf of the cross, stand firm with the cross. Don't try to wrap the flag around the cross.
Try to interpret the
No,
Bible
no.
and
Don't take the flag
and wrap it
around the cross and make it your symbol.
Yes.
Those two things do not work. Like you said, his kingdom is not of this world.
Yes.
Therefore, Christ's kingdom, the kingdom to which we belong and pursue,
It's far different from.
is different from this earthly kingdom.
Yes.
And so we know what obtains there. And we know that there's equality, there's joy. We're all loved by our Heavenly Father. But then, when we deal on this side of the equation, on the earthly matters, let's not confuse both. Because it does not help people who are watching from the outside, who do not understand what's going on. And that's really why it is important. If I was not a strong, if I have not come to the place of conviction, when my pastor friend
Decided he was going to walk off.
I could have backslid and said, if this is what a man of God is doing,
Christianity,
is this but I've read my Bible too much
Yes.
that nobody can convince me otherwise. I could have felt maybe I'm a sinner for supporting Obama.
Yes. Could have been convicted for.
I will go to hell for supporting.
Well, no, I agree with you. But what I wanted to say was when you talk about state matters and you go with the flag, and go with the cross, go with the cross. There are times when we actually need the people of faith to do the work of the state. And I want to say, when you're doing the work of state as a person of faith, you shouldn't put down your cross to take up the flag. You should hold your cross firmly and stay with that if that's your identity. But if you are going to do the work of the state and try to separate, I will rather that you actually go.
No. I'm not talking about separation, but I'm just saying it depends on. You see, you do not change no matter what environment you find yourself in.
Exactly. You shouldn't be a chameleon.
Because the cross is not a symbol that we carry.
Yes.
It is a symbol that is within.
It's been carried for you. It's a price that's already paid.
We have died to ourselves.
I
So
beg
so
my
wherever
right.
wherever you are,
Yes.
you're a Christian.
Yes.
So if you're now acting on behalf of the state,
Yes.
act on behalf of the state as a Christian. Because there is nothing you do as a Christian that will be demeaning, dehumanizing, that will be abuse or cause your neighbor to not feel loved.
Yes.
Because that's your mandate.
Yes.
That's your mandate. So that is where I have issue with political parties trying to claim that they represent one faith or the other.
They are the closest to God.
No.
That God speaks to them. Speak at the political convention.
Yeah, and that's where I disagree with that.
But we have already talked about the fact
Yeah.
that you have Democrats that will vote straight blue,
Yes.
Republicans that vote
Irrespective
straight
of
red,
if it
regardless
crosses their
of
moral
yes.
boundaries or not.
So in that context, I think that's the way the church is too.
Yes.
There are a lot of church members, unfortunately, that do not have the moral strength to stand up and say, this is wrong. This is wrong. Because
And church membership is actually not.
well,
Church membership doesn't make you a Christian.
well, but the point, because the point I'm trying to make here is that perhaps what is lacking is the courage of personal conviction.
Yes.
Eh? Perhaps what is needed is to stop the demagoguery.
Yes.
Who is to say that somebody who comes out on TV, okay, so I give you an example. When a preacher comes out and tells you that God has told him that he needs a new private jet.
You're not talking about Jesse
No.
Duplantis, right?
No.
That will
Because
be another show.
let us really think about these things.
Yes.
He is speaking to a congregation.
Jesse Duplantis had style, and I'll explain. Not only did he say that he wanted a new, was it a Volker? He actually knew the name and the number.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he pointed to his wall to discuss the three he already had.
Well,
Right? And then says that the last one that he has currently right now is not going to take him, but actually it's going to take 2 hops to get to where he's going. But he doesn't want to get. I like the Daily Show. I saw a Daily Show satire talking about that and talked about the 2 hops. He says, "Oh no, God forbid that you have to make a stop in Cleveland to deliver. if you're going for gospel if you're going to deliver the gospel, God forbid you have to stop in Cleveland on your way to Las Vegas, right? Because that would be a sin. What am I watching with these preachers? But sorry, I took it away.
no,
He has
no,
style.
because the point I'm making there is he is one of
The
the
many.
whole host of
Yeah.
preachers.
What's his name? Dollar last year. And
Creflo Dollar.
Creflo Dollar. People made fun of him. You would think that these people have lunch, and this year comes Jesse Duplantis.
So
And then he sat down with what's the other guy discussing how he doesn't want to fly with people in a tube full of demons. Could you you believe it?
So where are the custodians, quote unquote, of Christianity?
I will channel PE. Where is Christ in this crisis?
Well, Christ is laughing at all of you, if you ask me.
No,
Because,
it goes down to
yeah.
what we are seeing in the culture
Yes.
and what the good book also predicted. That in the last days, many will be deceived. There is a lying and deceptive spirit on the move. That's why people sit down, read the same book, and somebody will tell them that kind of hogwash,
And they accept it.
and they believe it, and not only believe it, they act on it. That's why some follow Jim Jones.
All the way
Guyana.
to,
To
their
Guyana.
last days, right?
So deception is a strong spirit. That's why you hear fake news. It is not by accident that you hear fake news, and there is really, really amplification of fake news because of the social media and the power of internet and information age. So at this time, what is it that people should be doing? Listen to programs like Straight Talk,
Wow.
where you hear it's straight, clear, and
Shaking
factual.
Straight up.
No.
And
I'm
you
not
have
saying-
you have an opportunity to rebut
That's right. No,
on
the point.
Facebook, via phone,
Yes.
because this is a
Yeah,
conversation.
email, yes.
We are not. This is not a one-way discussion. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah.
Matthew.
So no. The point. My point is, we try to get our facts right, and if you correct us, we will
take
accept.
correction.
So, but what I don't want us people to do at this time is swallow everything you hear, chew on it.
Hook, line, and sinker.
No, if somebody comes and tells you that he needs to buy a jet, what you need to ask yourself, do you have a bicycle to conduct your own business?
Well, you know,
If you don't have the bicycle,
I want
first
to raise-
buy your own bicycle before you give
being a
him the jet.
Nigerian and having been accused and been maligned by other people because they are receiving emails from some fake Nigerian prince, and the gullible fell for it and then blamed me for being Nigerian.
Yes.
Well, what do you say to the people trying to buy jets and you gullibly give them your money?
No, so it is deception.
Yes.
Let's
It's
just
the
be clear.
same thing
Now,
by
it's the
goodness.
same thing that is going on Twitter, government by Twitter.
Yes.
Because why we are governing by Twitter is because the filters have been taken out. What used to be is that if a leader of this nation, the leader of the free world, wants to make a press statement, a couple of good minds will be in the room.
Advisors.
No, I'm just saying good minds.
Advisors. Yes.
Then you will say, okay, I want to tell the world that okay is white.
And their fashion needs.
And then the people who are in the room will look and say, okay, looking at okay, we cannot say what is not. And then
Let's do some investigation and get to the real story.
so at least it will pass through some filters,
Yes.
and then you produce a good statement that befitting of that office. But if you wake up at night and you rolled around, you couldn't sleep, and you just send out
in
an
the good book,
ambient,
Proverbs says it. Good counselors, right? If you have good
There's
counselors
sense
and good
safety.
advisors, yes.
there's a,
But if you open your mouth and just say what comes out of your mouth,
But again,
Not asking
this
for it.
doesn't this go back to what we said a while earlier, that it seems that we are dumbing down our democracy. Because, you know, it used to be that when the President of the United States made a statement, that statement had value. People listened. Now we make irresponsible statements left, right, and center.
no. If it's irresponsible, then it will be a little bit. You can accommodate that. But when people act with, you know, a president tells lies. Initially, the press struggled with that. Oh, he misrepresented fact. Oh, he didn't say it rightly. Oh, da. Finally, they owned up to it.
it's not.
And
only
say,
that.
look.
I think it was a language thing. And what I mean by that is sometimes you want to give the person or the subject the chance
The
to actually
opportunity to retract.
or maybe you know, when Bush
I
misspoke.
misspoke.
Yes, you could misspeak, and they give you the chance by using other languages other than saying, because they may be thinking somebody gave you the wrong information,
Yeah.
or maybe you heard this and you didn't hear right. So they tried other words first, and when it became a habit, it's like there's nothing to call this other than what it is. But also, I want to address what you said about people being lied to and being convinced. You know, when this program B1 where we could tell you that this program is brought to you, sponsored by Igbo American
Yes.
Heritage
Yes.
Foundation, and in collaboration with viewers like you. Well, I think when we're being lied to and we are being convinced of the other argument, is because it's in collaboration with people like us. If somebody's telling me something, and I am taking a hook, line, and sinker without checking, I am collaborating with them to lie to myself.
No, we're not even fact check anymore, because you spend your whole time. Remember when fact checking,
checks, yes.
fact checks came out? It was really, you know, if somebody made 50 statements, they say, okay, he didn't get one right.
80% of them, okay.
Yeah,
And
but now every word that is rolling out.
I forgot who said, if somebody tells you who they are, you believe them. At some point, if somebody's lying to you constantly, you have to tune them out. You have to say, you know what, until you demonstrate that you could tell me the truth. Or if somebody's coming to you and stealing from you all the time, after a while you're
You
going
have to padlock your.
Yes, you start locking your stuff up around them.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the media is called, those of us in the talking business,
Yes.
we are called to talk about it. We are called to announce it. We cannot tune it out, because if it's not challenged, it becomes factual.
Right.
And so that's actually what is perpetuated. And now we got a sidekick. So someday we need to talk about this new sidekick out of New York, who wakes up every morning and looks for one bombastic thing to say, and declares.
Can I just say,
You know,
we should not be discussing recycled
you know,
has-beens
Yes.
on this.
I don't know who it is.
Donald Rumsfeld, Mr. Rumsfeld, as far as I'm concerned, is senile, so he does not merit discussion.
no, I mean, you mean our good friend Rudy?
Rudy Giuliani, I'm sorry, not Giuliani.
Oh, you're thinking of.
Well.
No,
I'm so sorry.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
Rudy
he's senile
Giuliani.
or not. I think he likes the limelight.
I think
been
he's
gone for a
senile.
while, and
I think dementia has set in.
so this is what they think
So-
is working. My thought, this is what they think is working, right? What they think is working is make all this noise about nothing, change the story many times that you don't know where the story started or where the story ends, and you question the whole thing now because you're thinking, did he lie at first? Is he lying now? Is what he's saying tomorrow they're trying to confuse.
But you know the unfortunate thing, the law is precise. So that's why
Justice
your
is
friend
blind and-
your friend Mullah is not speaking but taking notes. Because the more you speak, everything you say can and will be
against
can
you.
and will be
You have
used against you
sometimes
because
you
the
show
law.
you show your intelligence by keeping your mouth shut.
That's right.
No,
So
I stand where I started.
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani is senile. And I don't know that he has said anything since he was brought into this legal team that has convinced me otherwise. So
I think it's the case of the carpenter. I mean, getting the nail, hitting the nail wrongly and getting it angled and saying it style. I think the first time he got up there and made a statement that didn't go well, we were thinking he will be fired, and they looked at that and thought, that's confusing enough. Let's use that. I think that's what happened. But we are sadly coming to the end of this show. Sadly, only because we enjoy it so much and we hope that you do. But catch us again on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. U.S. Central, where we will be discussing all things Africa. And as we wrap up, Mazio Delega, any few words for our listeners?
there are very few stations where you hear this kind of conversation by ordinary Americans, men, women with no.
Diaspora and immigrants like that.
No, I mean, we have nothing.
no hidden agenda.
No agenda other than to see our communities healthy and working well. Now, that is the power of a community radio.
Yes.
Unlike some of the other stations you listen to
That have agenda and sponsors
that have
pay.
sponsors and they determine the speech.
Yes.
Because our people say Obuopi and
What do they see?
no. That
No, I think I know.
I'm more than 3 years old. No. You see, we try to get to the heart of the issue and to bring diversity to the conversation. It's amazing that mainline media has also stifled conversation within America among the diversities of the people in America.
Because
So-
now they have a red or blue line they have to
So,
talk.
and then too, it depends on whose name comes up as a pundit. But in these community radios, you hear what's going on in your community, and ordinary people like you and I will be discussing and having conversation. Maybe there's wisdom in this is democratization of information, and so keep on listening to WGHC 98.3 FM and support her so that she could continue to do what she's doing.
Yes.
Because there's a point of view that comes out of this that you rarely hear or see across the media landscape within the United States.
That's your best.
After this, what else is there? I absolutely agree. I just hope that more of our listeners will chime in because I truly believe that this is supposed to be a bilateral information sharing platform. We are not here to talk to you. We are here to have a chat with you. So please call in. Please either by phone, through Facebook, whichever way. Let us continue this conversation to the benefit of our whole community. Thank you.
And from me, we started off talking about the disinvitation of the Eagles to the White House. We went through a whole lot of things, talked about the police. The thing that got me the most and I wanted to focus on a little bit more is your community, the police in your community, the money that is spent in your community, the taxes that gets taken away from you, the school system, how all that works. That's actually your community. You're paying for it, so it's always prudent to ask the question, where is my money going? And if you need to walk down to your community center, to City Hall, to get that question answered, do that. Because if you think somebody else is going to ask that question for you, well, your tax may keep going up and up and up. And then one more thing, I got a Facebook, one of my friends posted on Facebook about something that happened in Africa, not Nigeria, but another place in Africa, where one of the aunt's friend is now homeless because they went to a preacher and told the preacher about how they didn't have enough money. They had some money, but not enough to pay their rent. And the preacher asked them to sow the money that they have as seed, and they ended up homeless. Sometimes you just need to use your head. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
Ndewonu. Kachibo Igbo ga-adị.
Okay.
Whoa! No.
Another marathon.
Yes.
We gotta start.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
Great conversation. I think it's only a matter of time that the community get to understand.
I actually
Hear
people
what you're
are
doing.
going to be in Houston about this program.
Oh yeah,
I know people are watching.
people now are